Oh, yes.
Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel for Celtic fans all over the world, whether part of a CSC or lone wolves like myself and Danno. If you're tuning in to see Matt McGlone, then you'll be disappointed, as we have to report that unforeseen circumstances have forced Matt to postpone his appearance on A Celtic World to a later date. But we do have three other massive names in the world of Celtic fandom. None bigger than Stephen in Australia. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Not too bad. Disappointing we couldn't get Matt on tonight. I was looking forward to a few reminiscences from the 1990s. Very, very important period in the club's history. So hopefully another day.
Yeah, hopefully we can reconvene. But also joining us tonight, another colossus in the world of Celtic fandom, David, KLCSC.
Good evening. How is everybody? I'm very happy to hear. Disappointed about Matt, but another day. Looking forward to it.
Well, to help us get over the disappointment, we drafted in Danno to cheer us all up.
Yeah. Big shoes to fill here. On a rainy, dour day in Gwangju. But we'll see what happens.
Well, I think we're making up for any rainy weather outside by our choice of color this evening. I mentioned earlier we look a bit like the Wiggles or the Teletubbies or something. This isn't by design, I hasten to add. We're just all obviously feeling a bit...
Questionable choice from yourself there, Gav, wearing blue on a Celtic podcast. But, you know,
I mean,
each to their own. Is that your Lichfield top, is it?
As if you're going to avoid the colour blue all your life. That's ridiculous.
David thought I was wearing a Rangers top.
I did. When he came on at first, I thought that was a seriously, for a fraction of a second.
You thought Danno's was a Rangers top?
Yeah, no.
Just with the colour suit came on, I thought, what the heck?
It is odd. I mean, it's a Chicago Cubs top, but it's like, yeah, red. My brother bought it for me. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't wear it too often, but special occasions, demands something special.
Well, something special is what we've got lined up for the viewers tonight. What are we going to be talking about? First of all, football without fans. You'll notice that the thumbnail, the rejigged thumbnail, is calling this show Fans Without Football because it's international break. So that's quite a fascinating, hilarious little play on words there.
Oh.
Number two, we're doing a fun little section called Danno Learns Scottish, which is news to Danno. It's the first time he's heard about this.
Yeah, well, not right here, but I saw the chat sheet. I saw the rundown. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Glad I volunteered.
And then we're going to move on to talk about a couple of key players who are sort of featuring quite a lot in the news at the moment and why that might be and the pros and cons of that. And obviously, we're going to end off with Celtic socials as we always do, unless we've overrun significantly like we did last time around. All right, so what else do we have to do before we get on to football without fans? I may as well flash this up just to let people know what time they can join us. These are the current times. So we're still going out at 10:30 a.m. in the UK, which was a cause of some consternation initially when it happened, but we'll have to see if that consternation continues. So I see a couple of people here who were excited about Matt's appearance, but I've had to put them right in the comments. But ever the voice of positivity, Frank is here.
Oh, yes.
Yes, the reason for his appearance is just to do with work. Some unforeseen work circumstances cropped up.
Right.
And unfortunately, he'll have to join us another time. All right, so let's go on to point number one.
He heard some musical interludes.
Do you think that's what it is? Matt McGlone got a whiff of Celtic karaoke and decided he couldn't put his name to that. Is that what you're suggesting?
He's not like Callum McGregor, he's not a big fan of the 80s. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. All right. So we're going to talk about football without fans. And the first thing we're going to do in order to introduce that is I was going to play a video. David, can you fill in a little bit and tell us a little bit while I do some looking around on my computer?
Yes, I can.
Tell us about the book.
So this book that we're going to talk about, and we've got a little video compiled upon it, is coming out from CelticBars. So if you, like me, are remote from Scotland, run a CSE, then you'll be very familiar with CelticBars. A huge help to anybody who runs a Celtic supporters club anywhere in the world. You could be back in the UK, of course. The amount of work that he's done over time to ensure that everybody knows where they can go in a given city to be able to watch the game is phenomenal. He recently updated over the last year or so. The website is vastly improved as well. You can go in, you can put your location, it will give you the nearest CSC to you as well. But for a very, very long time, he's been doing all of the manual updates of all of the information from all of the CSCs coming into that website. So a massive amount of work and undertaking to be able to do that. Not only has he done that over the years, which we're all hugely appreciative of, he's written a book on the fans of Celtic that includes the CSCs, but beyond as well. And over the last week or so, you'll have seen him putting out really interesting points in that. And I think some of those that we're going to talk about this evening. That book's going to be coming up, and I think it's out next week. But I think it'll be a fascinating read, and I think it may be the first one that has been written about the fans of Celtic. Gav, is that enough?
Okay. That is beautifully done. Seamless, in fact. Here is the video.
Ooh.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Well done. Now, David put that together. Stephen, let's go to you, first of all, for your reaction to that video.
Yeah, very, very good video. Very well put together. Interested to see my own home CSC mentioned there, the Irvine #1 CSC, which is the biggest club of them all with 800 members. So I was one of the founding members of that club back in the late 1980s. They have their own social club down in Irvine, which was an old converted snooker hall. And there's some very ambitious people around the club at that time and converted it into a Celtic club in a town which is, not really known for a lot of Celtic fans. It's quite a big Rangers town. But if anyone's in there, at any point, you look up in the wall. There's a big engraved board with all the founder members on it, and you'll see my name on there. So a little bit of preserve for history's sake up there. So yeah, great times in that bus going up there during the centenary season, and a few years following that. So great to see them mentioned. But as clear, we are really well represented in all four corners of the globe. So well done, David. That was excellent. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
What's stood out for you there, Danno? What stood out for you in that video? Anything of particular note?
I did note the 11 Celtic supporters clubs, in the Far East. That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't been to any. I know there are a few in Japan, but I didn't get a chance to check any out. I know they definitely grew and kind of popped up in Japan during the Nakamura era, especially like starting back then. And yeah, it's great to see a CSC up in Seoul here too. We were just talking about, David's wearing a Seoul CSC shirt tonight. So, and he's got an extra one. So amazing. Yeah, it's top stuff. But it's great to see, especially so far away here in the Far East, where you wouldn't necessarily expect them to be, and it's excellent, man. It's excellent.
Yeah, we had a bit of a debate, didn't we, David, about the term Far East, whether that was the right term, because it's very Western centric. It's very far away to the east, like we're the center of the earth. Everybody else is out there. But we couldn't say Southeast Asia because it included places that weren't in Southeast Asia, and it was all a bit tricky. So Far East we went with. What's Frank saying here? Celtic's all about the reasons why it was founded. Nobody can take that away from us. Very good. I was wondering, when you go around the world and you see other people watching matches in pubs, and it's usually only the biggest clubs, like the Man U fans that are all over the world because it's Man U or Real Madrid or something. But what the fans of smaller clubs do? Where do they go to watch their games when they're all around the world? Because we find ourselves gravitating to the Irish pubs, which are a worldwide network. And there's always going to be one showing the game. So that's an amazing aspect of it. Like Celtic fans can get to watch football in a way that I'm sure most other fans of clubs simply can't.
I think it's changed actually for fans of any club, because, for example, in the bar we've had Hearts fans, we've had Hibs fans, and so on come in because they knew that we could put it on the bar for them to let them watch a game. We're happy enough to do that. If you go back a few years, then it was a bit more difficult. You heard the stories about Sing Tims getting videos flown out and then them all getting together and crowding around a TV to watch. But these days with the internet and stuff and streams, etc., as long as I suppose you can get to a place where they've got internet connection and a TV, then I suppose you're going to be able to do it. But the smaller teams, you ask the Rangers, they ask them where they have to go.
Yeah, well, no. But I've got a friend. Who's
Gav's got the T-shirt on for it.
I've got a friend who's a West Ham fan. What
fellow Gers. Yeah.
A lot of his games aren't they're televised, but they're not going to be the games that are shown on Astro in Asia.
I suppose.
Right? So he ends up having to watch them all at home. And I was thinking about that myself, about trying to find a bar in this town that has smart TV, so I could go down and log in, and if there's people trying to watch the game somewhere here, there's nowhere for them to go. But if I knew that they were here, for example, say someone asked Davey from CelticBars about this town, he might say, I don't know where, but there's this fella there. But I don't know how many pubs have smart TVs these days. Do they? Do you think many of them would?
Yeah, well,
As long as
the pub where the pub where the Sydney CSC watch the games is called Scruffy Murphy's down in Haymarket in the city, and it does have a smart TV, and they do have a login for Celtic TV, so that's how they watch the games. But I mean, the difficulty we face here in Sydney is the kickoff times. Now, if you're going to regularly screen games, you have to find a pub that's open all night, essentially, because most of the 3 o'clock kickoffs during the British summertime, during the daylight savings time here, are like 2 o'clock in the morning kickoffs, which don't finish till 4 o'clock in the morning. So you need to find a place that's going to show them, and that's not easy. And what tends to happen is a lot of the different supporters clubs will gravitate towards the small number of pubs who do that. And Scruffy Murphy's is one of them. And I know the Man United fans also gather in Scruffy Murphy's to watch their games. And there's a pub just up the road called Cheers. And that's where the Liverpool fans watch the games. I think that's where the Man City fans, and that's where a number of the sort of smaller Scottish clubs, would watch the games. Not Rangers, obviously, because they don't get on with anyone. But when you find a pub that's open, get reasonable opening hours to watch these games, everybody tends to gravitate towards it. They're all terrible pubs as well. They're all basically slop holes. They sort of shut for half an hour at 5 o'clock in the morning to sweep the vomit out the door and then reopen again. But that's you've got to do what you got to do.
Very good.
Place. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's have a look at some of the stills we have then. This is Football Without Fans, researched and compiled by David McIntyre. I'll just read the little blurb on the back here. From Paisley to Papua New Guinea, the Gorbals to the Bronx, Celtic supporters clubs are renowned the world over. The only difference between the break club pioneers of the late 1880s and the present-day CSEs is the mode of transport. The passion, dedication, hopes and dreams of the fans have never changed. The pride of belonging to a cause they believe in has made them the lifeblood of Celtic FC. Delve into what our forefathers got up to, from the horse and carts, motorized charabancs, war years, the highs of Lisbon, to the histories of over 400 CSCs. Every supporters club has a story to tell. This book brings them to life with some remarkable tales of heroism, prejudice, inventiveness, charity, mayhem, and humour. This book is by the fans, about the fans, for the fans. That's pretty good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Now, you showed us in the video about
Can
the
anybody
break
help
clubs,
me
David.
out and tell me what can anybody tell me what a charabanc is?
Yeah.
I can.
I don't know.
I googled it earlier. It's
Please do.
what you see in the It's what you see in the picture there. An open kind of horse-drawn cart. That's a charabanc.
Right.
So, David, break clubs is how it all started. BRAKE.
Yeah.
Which is basically this: a bunch of geezers moving around the town on a charabanc shouting about Celtic or something. What exactly?
Yeah, that's it. So I was interested in, I don't know the answer to this, why it was called break, if it was something to do with the wagon itself. So the wagons carried about 25 fans from various parts of Glasgow up to Parkhead. And it could be that it was like a break from wherever they were living to go up there. Maybe it was something like that. What I can tell you
as in break. Decelerate, yeah.
Yeah, but so yeah, a break, yeah. So I guess that's why that they've chosen that word for it. But I can tell you they weren't actually that popular. There was a lot of trouble caused with them going through the centre of town because they would wave, passer-by, people walking by with their banners and stuff. But they felt they were persecuted by the police because Rangers also had these break clubs, and they didn't seem to get into quite the same trouble. So I don't know. But I think there's some facts. You've got some facts lined up for us on that, Gavin, no?
Well, I'm going to share a bunch of little things that I saw on the author's Twitter feed, just to fill in the story, because this book is out this week, maybe at the weekend or something, very soon. Good stocking filler. Here's Jamie Fleming, who says, at Celtic Bars, I've been lucky enough to read a preview of this book. It's a must for any Celtic fans, at least any Celtic fan. There's some laugh out loud bits in it. My favourite involves Sunderland Celtic Supporters Club, but I'm biased. Keep a lookout for this book or ask Celtic Bars for info. He replies, yes, the Sunderland CSE story does take some believing. And there's a little caveat here, or disclaimer sort of thing. For the record, these photos that he's putting on Twitter are of the low quality in terms of, their pixelation or whatever. So couldn't be used for the books, but he's covered hundreds of fantastic old photos and thinks fans will love to see them. He's uncovered, which is what he's doing. Hope you're enjoying them. So here's one. How the Celtic Supporters Association started. This is a guy, Willie Fanning, who just put an advert in the paper, basically, saying anyone interested in starting a little supporters club. 1944. This is an interesting picture. The famous John Thompson's mum and dad. John Thompson, the goalkeeper, obviously, who died. And this is his funeral. Look how many people. 30,000 Celtic fans attended the funeral.
Yeah, I think they have to walk like a long way out of Glasgow for that too. It wasn't like in the East End or anything. It was a ways out.
It was in Cardedale in Fife, which isn't close to Glasgow. Off the top of my head, I'd say it was probably about 60 miles away, probably.
A lot of people.
That's a walk.
But a lot of them walked out there. Yeah.
Special trains from Queen Street were laid on, it says here. But I'm sure there was a fair bit of ground covered on foot.
Yeah.
Here's a picture from 1947. Celtic supporter selling rosettes in Dundee. Great old photos.
Yeah.
This is about the break clubs, David, that you mentioned earlier. And mentions Willie Maley was very critical of the break clubs.
Yes.
You can see what he says here. We were just talking about this before the show. The war fever is dying out of men's blood. I feel sure that by next season we will be rid of the break club hooligan, against whom all sporting men's hands should be turned. The greatest blot that has ever soiled Scottish football. David, discuss.
So it's interesting, right? We were discussing this because I think there's another post from Celtic Bars about Willie Maley and some of his domestic situations that ended up in court. And it may be that we've been singing the name of someone who may not be of the mould of what we would imagine a Celtic man might be, because it looks as if he's very much against the fans on that one. And it kind of it's reminiscent of some of the attitude of the board today, is it not? I wonder how might actually be applauding that and saying he was right. He was right.
I wonder how he would have reacted to the football specials, the trains that we all went on in the 1980s to places like Edinburgh, Dundee, and Aberdeen, which were really just, travelling dens of iniquity with all sorts going on them. I don't think I'd ever seen a football special arriving in a destination station with a single window left intact. So, if he thought the break clubs were full of hooligans, I don't know how he'd have got on in a football special. But
yeah, but it is true. It does seem. I'm reading a book about Willie Maley, and he was maybe not everyone's idea of what a Celtic legend should be. It was a different era, of course, but he was the son of a British soldier, or a soldier who served in the British Army, and yeah, he was a bit of a royalist, according to this book. He was very fond of the royals, and quite wanted to be introduced to them at every opportunity he had. Things like that. Yeah, his marriage didn't go particularly well, and he sort of separated from the family, which wasn't a done thing then. But you can't pull him up on that specifically without knowing all the details, obviously. But yeah, he did tend to make a few comments that were sort of very superior towards your average commoner fan. And as you say, David, some things never change.
Well, there's an interesting comment. I would have asked it if Matt had been on, and I will cover it again. But I think Michael Kelly made the comment about the Celts for Change and those fans that they were from the peripheral places of Glasgow. So it seems to be there's some form of consistency and attitude that comes from those who may be the caretakers of the club.
Mm-hmm. There's a great
it really is
picture
incredible when you think about the fact that Willie Maley was the Celtic manager for close to 50 years.
Yeah. Well, his contribution is unquestionable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. When you consider the club's only really been going for, 130 years, and for 50 years we had one manager. It's an incredible statistic.
Yeah. And here's a bunch of likely lads in Milan in 1970. Look at the fashions. The cut of these three. They look like some characters strutting about the streets of Milan. Where's it there from? Port Glasgow, number 1.
The Port.
And for people who don't really know, this is more or less what CelticBars spends a lot of time doing, it seems to me. People contacting him saying, hey, I'm in such and such a place. Where can I watch the game? And he lets them know. Anything in Amsterdam? Yeah, Molly Malone's. I made anything listed for Krakow. And then he immediately comes back with the answer. And of course, the website has got an exhaustive list. CelticBars. So that's all good.
He's on it, man. He's on it.
Those are all the stills I have to go with that. Of course,
so
our friend... Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to ask of the video of the CSEs we're in. I managed to have visited 2 of them. So I went to Greenock because a large part of my family are from Greenock. Not Irvine, but I have been to the Singtons. And I was doing my count earlier, and I've managed to get in a total of 8 CSEs in my time.
It's pretty good going. Steve, can you any raise on 8?
Yeah, I'd probably be able to do better than that, because we used to always whenever. I mean, I watched Celtic home and away for years and years and years, and we always used to go to Celtic supporters clubs in any town we went to. So I've been in the Greenock club, I've been in the Port Glasgow Celtic club, Irvine obviously, and Dundee. I was in a Celtic club up there at one point. So yeah, all over the place. So always a good destination for away games.
Yeah, well, foreigners like myself and Danno probably can't hold a torch to the numbers that the Scots folk can post. But I'm looking forward to going to Sing Tim's next month. I've been talking to Jerry about that. And he reckons it'd be great. We can record some stuff in the pub with all the various members. It won't be of great quality. I'm not going to be lugging all my equipment with me, but that should be a lot of fun. I'll be there for the Hearts game. And I'm also in Singapore for the Feyenoord game, but that's like 3 o'clock or something. I'm not sure if everyone's going to be meeting down the boozer for that. Or will I just have my laptop at the end of the bed in the hotel room, sitting in the armchair in the corner?
Just the normal way.
Yeah. Danno, what's you have any CSEs near you?
Yeah, up in the capital, up in Seoul. And they meet at this great Irish bar that's in Itaewon, rather newer, but it's called the Crack House, as in the Irish CRAIC Crack House. And I used to be a member of the Chicago CSC for a while, but I was a member there for a couple of years, and then I moved here to Korea. And the Seoul CSC is rather newer. I was thinking maybe he started it like 10 years ago, so I'm not sure. But
Here's
yeah,
a few little comments for us. Michael Ross is joining in your fond reminiscences there, Steve, the football specials. Frank Brennan on Willie Maley. Absolutely. He was very much pro-British Army. Being son of a British soldier and ardent royalist, not forgetting he tried to sell the lids in Jimmy McGrory, not once but twice. Baza Boy is new to the channel. All right, Baza Boy, how you doing? Keep up the good work, lads. Hail, hail. Thank you. Yes, usually we have a very packed show full of loads of totally exciting things to talk about, but it is the international break, so don't have tons to talk about. But one thing I've been meaning to do for a long time is have some fun with the Scottish language or the Scottish terms, and because this show is for fans all around the world. Don't have to be Scottish. Danno's American. We're talking to American CSCs. I sometimes wonder if things are lost in translation occasionally. So I've got a few words here I'd like to run by Danno just to see if he knows what they mean. Unfortunately, we've mentioned the first one earlier, but out with, Danno. You know what out with means?
out with something is out with. That is a very Scottish thing.
Very Scottish.
Yeah. Use it in a sentence. I've kind of got it, but give me an example.
Well, what you usually hear in Scotland is out with Rangers and Celtic. There's not another team that's going to challenge for the title.
Yeah, so you could say it. That's basically what I thought it was. Barring whatever I'm talking about, or taking them out of the equation, basically.
Exactly, beyond, outside the scope of.
Right.
Stephen, David, did you know that out with is like purely a Scottish word? You never hear it anywhere else, other than in Scotland or by somebody who lived in Scotland.
No, I didn't know that was
about that. I think I'm going to question that, Gav. I'm pretty sure I've heard people use it. Well, yeah, I think I'm going to pull you up on that. I think I've heard people using that here in Australia of the non-Scottish vernacular.
I've heard English people use that.
No, you're both.
I think I'm going to call pish on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, will you find me an example for next week on YouTube of someone who's not Scottish nor has lived in Scotland for multiple years using the term out with?
Yes, someone out with. Yeah, right.
Okay, the next one, Danno, is riddy. What's a riddy?
I mean, get rid of or something. No, it's I think it's a noun, but I can't remember what it is.
David, do you want to explain what a riddy is?
A riddy is when you've been embarrassed.
You
get that's a pure riddy.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
red
what
face.
does it mean, though? Yeah, red.
What does it mean? A red face, yeah. Sorry, embarrassed.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one for you, Danno. Cheeser.
I don't know that one. I really don't. Cheeser.
David looks like he doesn't know it either.
I don't. No, I do not.
Yeah, Cheeser. I don't think I've even heard that. Like even in
like is that a big smile?
I watch quite a few people.
Exactly, Stephen's right. A wide smile.
Yeah. Okay.
Like a player scores and then runs to the corner. Look at the cheeser on him.
Yeah. Okay.
Quick one. Another one. Mince.
Just shit. Terrible.
Yeah. And of course, it's spelled M-I-N-C-E, not M-I-N-T-S.
Right. As in mince meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just
usually preceded by the word pure.
Yeah,
pure
but it's strange
mince.
because mince is celebrated in Scottish culture. Isn't it mince and tatties and all that? But
mince and tatties,
yeah, but
and
mince
pies,
is so,
the way people revere mince pie, or not mince pies, but Anyway, so why does mince mean rubbish, Stephen?
Well, I'm going to take a stab at this to say because mince meat is generally regarded as the cheapest type of meat you can buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of mince, so my mother-in-law came over here to visit us a number of years ago and made mince and tatties for the kids. Well, my kids were all brought up here in Australia, born in Scotland, but they were all brought up here in Australia, and they were utterly horrified. That's what we eat in Scotland. What the hell is this crap? It's just pigeon food.
Well, we're getting loads in the
guessing
comments.
it's because mince is really cheap.
Yeah.
The only other thing before I'll bring up some of these comments because there's some tremendous ones here. But before we get to that, if you see, Danno, the letters GIRFUY, usually in capital letters, do you know what that means?
Get it right the fuck up, yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, let's drop the F and just say...
Yeah, you also see just the F-free version of it, GR.
Yeah, get it right up ye.
Get it right up here.
Now, I've got some questions. Questions surrounding this. Get it right up ye. Okay? I think it's pretty obvious what the it is. We can all imagine what it is that's going up ye.
Yeah, well.
Something that's unwelcome in most cases, not all. But for most people, it would be an unwelcome thing to occur.
Could be any number of objects, let's face it.
But
if it's what we're all thinking of, then I'm wondering, when you really
we're not. No, we're not.
I'm not. I think you're jumping the shark there, Gav.
Well, listen. My point is, if that's what it means, then when you really want to sicken someone, you say, "Get it right round ye." Is it the same thing that goes round ye that went up ye? In which case, that makes very little sense to me. How do you get it right round you? I have a picture of someone being like a boa constrictor, a big pink boa constrictor wrapping around someone's body. What does get it round ye mean, David?
I'm going to struggle to answer it now that you've put these pictures in my head. I don't want to answer the question. I thought I knew what it meant, and it was kind of the same as get it up you, get it round you. It was just the same thing, but now
get it into you makes you say. I mean, the English have got a phrase that goes like they don't like it up them.
Yeah,
the English don't like it up them. I'm not going to do an English accent, but they do. A lot of them do, yeah. But
no, that's
all it is. It's just a situation. You have to deal with this situation. That's it. Deal with this. You don't like this. We're beating you 2-0. You don't like it, so deal with it. That's what it means. Get it up you, get it round you, get it into you.
I'm going to bring up a bunch of them. Stop me if you want to linger on any of them from the comments.
3.
They've been having a fine time in the comments.
Slobber knocker.
That sounds a bit rude.
Never heard that.
Slobber knocker. Yeah.
Homos. Yep, that's Raymond slang.
What's homos?
That's Raymond slang for boss.
Oh,
I kicked him right in the homos.
By the way, there was something that I saw that was Scottish slang up until this year. They just entered it in the dictionary. I think it's balls. Yeah, balls. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's actually an official word in the Oxford Dictionary now, which I found kind of amazing.
Well, I found it was amazing whenever they had that they had a storm, didn't they, that blew through Scotland, Glasgow in particular, and the American news reported it. And I don't know where they got the information, but there was this American woman reading the news, and she's like, Hurricane Bobag that tore through Glasgow. Read it out as if it was real.
Yeah. My sister has this thing where she uses like English and Scottish terms sometimes because they sound ridiculous in our accent. Like she'll if you're English or whatever, you go to a convenience store, you pay for something. All right, cheers. And my sister will like use it in America, but with her accent, cheers. It just sounds ridiculous to everybody involved. Yeah.
Do you know this one, Danno?
That one there from Pete McGee going for the messages. That's a cracker, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that means going for the shopping. If you weren't aware, I'm going to. I got for the messages.
I remember
I
that
used to share an
having some
apartment.
French.
What's that?
Did you? I go
I
ahead.
used to share an apartment with a guy from Glasgow, and he said he wants. I explained something, and he says, "How no?" And I was like, "Do you mean why not?" And he said, "Yes, I do." But he said,
How
how
needs
no?"
why?
Yeah.
What about you, Glake Hun? Danno, can you explain that one?
Glake, this is a new one to me. Read this a couple weeks ago. I mean, I think it's just somebody that's, of ill repute or stupid or something like that. Just an idiot.
So,
I think I'm wrong there.
it's someone who appears of low intelligence.
Yeah. Idiot. Yeah.
That
Just
probably sums it
appears.
up. Appears of low intelligence.
So, Steve, the one messages I seem to remember. I'm not sure if this is right, but I seem to remember reading that came from French words. The messages, because it doesn't seem to make any sense to go for your shopping, and because of the influence of French in the Scots language, messages seem to have that was some origin of that. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, things like stovies come from estouvé, to go on the stove, etc. So there could be something in it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's something that makes absolutely no sense in it. And we still use that word from time to time here. And if you take a non-Scottish person, it's absolutely it's meaningless, really.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. What you say? Yeah.
Patrick McLaughlin, how did I never see this pod before? He loves our filler, our panic station. No, Matt McGlone. What are we going to talk about? Content. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Wait till he finds out we normally talk about the great shipping lanes of the world.
Yeah. Hey,
that was only last week.
Hey, your guys' Midwest US quiz is coming here. You should have done your homework already. That's the next episode.
I thought we might be onto the Suez Canal this week.
All right, smart arse. A lot of people find it very interesting that we learned all about the Great Lakes being port cities. All right, well, let's get it back to something you're a bit more comfortable with, Stephen. Try and keep you awake in case you nod off like Monday.
I did like the shipping. We were doing the WhatsApp, the usual ongoing conversation between all of us who are involved in the show. And Steven's like, "Do you have the shipping forecast for tomorrow, Kev?" Brilliant.
North by northwest, 35 knots.
Right.
Dear. All right,
let's
children, come on, behave. Behave.
Never.
We're going to talk about players. Let's move it on to players. Okay, there's a couple of players that have been featured in the news quite a lot. Liam Scales did a lengthy interview in the past few days, which was very interesting. And there's talk of him getting a 5-year deal. So we're going to talk about that. But regular listeners will know that we often like to play these little musical interludes. And we have one on Liam Scales. Now, this is specifically for Brian from the show, who said to me, wouldn't it be great if we could do one inspired by the Sisters of Mercy, who we both listened to growing up. So this is the rather odd marriage of the Liam Scales story and the Sisters of Mercy. So especially for Patrick, who's here for the first time, this is a pretty harsh introduction to life at A Celtic World.
Sultry delivery.
Unmute your mics there.
Sultry delivery there, Gav.
Did you see that? Did you see Liam Scales on Twitter today being interviewed during his time away with the Ireland team? And he gave the interview entirely in Irish. And I didn't know this about. Yeah, apparently he's the first ever footballer who's done this, giving an interview completely in Irish. And I didn't know this about him at all. He went to UCD in Dublin, where he studied Irish. So he's got a degree in the Irish language from UCD, and he did that while he was playing football there in Dublin. So there you go. Didn't know that about him.
That was one of my favorite things rolling around, like the west of Ireland, around Galway. We went out there for my grandmother's 80th birthday, and I loved listening to any of the all Irish radio stations and stuff. You can catch them out there. I was listening to some sports commentary. They're playing a couple games, and the announcers are doing it all in Irish. I just turned it on, couldn't understand a word, loved it. It was great.
Well, let's talk about Liam Scales then, because opinion is kind of divided on him. I think it's fair to say.
I don't know why.
And we're probably going to see this in the comments as well, I would imagine. But Stephen, have you moved beyond sort of just being impressed with how he's filling in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think 5-year deals are sort of the standard length of contract that's been handed out these days. So I'm not too concerned with hearing that it's too long a contract. I'm more concerned with the value of the contract and whether he's been bumped up onto big money or not, because he obviously wasn't on big money, initially, because he hasn't really featured for Celtic. But if he's getting a little bit of a pay rise and a contract extension, then I'd be okay with that. I think he certainly earned it, and we've got a plethora of centre backs at the club that can't get in the team because of the form he's in. Guys we paid big money for, like Laga, Bielka, and Narowski. So if these guys can't get in the team in front of them, then these guys are all on 4 and 5 year contracts. So I don't really see why Liam Scales wouldn't be. And Nat Phillips will be heading back down the road at Christmas. He's not going to get that deal's not going to get made permanent. There's no chance of that happening. So at the same time, I understand people's concerns, because I'm not convinced he's suddenly the new Baresi or anything like that. I think he's still got a long way to go to prove that he's a long-term solution for Celtic at centre half. But on the flip side of that,
yeah, go ahead.
The flip side of that, I think people are waiting on him having a bad game, and it's just not happening.
Exactly, it's not happening. Here's a post by Ryan McGinley, who you probably all know. He's you see him on the Celtic Way and various other places. Liam Scales is in line for a new long-term contract, admits Brendan Rodgers. I don't think anyone can grudge him that, especially with the run he's on. He's having an immense season. And I just thought the comments in this were very interesting, because you get the full range. People saying, like, once the others come back, where is he going to fit in? Others saying it's pointless. There's one guy here, Ray, is like, have to disagree. I think he's really poor. He's done well to get into the team. But if that's our level of defender, SPFL is all we will do decent in. Well, I would say that can be said of almost all our players, that the SPFL is all we're going to do decent in. We're not going to do decent in anything else. But that's another story. Feels a wee bit like Ralston during Ange's first season, and he got a new deal midway through as well. This is terrible business. Trigger happy with the contracts. The guy is backup at best. And then this one here I thought was interesting. Jesus Christ, what is it with this club? Yes, he's outperformed expectation, but expectation was 0. He's not a good player. He's been adequate. If he's the standard of player the club is happy with to try and progress in any real terms, that confirms the ambition is not there.
Meh.
Other people saying fully deserved. He's only getting better. He's been outstanding. We were banging on about needing a left-sided centre-back, and we had a decent one sitting there all along. So, David, where are you in this spectrum of opinion?
Well, so I think we need to understand why this 5-year deal thing keeps coming up. As Stephen said, it seems to be the way of it these days, and I think it might be that there's some protectionism for the club in that. I'm not sure whether or not you get them on a 5-year, and therefore the buyout is more if they do move on, and given that we are a selling club, then that maybe is the business rationale behind it, rather than rewarding Liam Scales for being doing his job as a professional footballer. I think he's been really consistent. I think he's been solid. Would I, based purely on performance and for the period of time that he's been doing so, I'm not sure it warrants a 5-year contract. Because if we go back to the beginning of the season, he was not well liked across the board. I don't think there was a consistency there. So I think he's done well. I think he's responded well to any criticism. He's got on, sort of professional way. So fair play to the boy. I think the 5-year deal, I'm not sure, but I think the 5-year deal may be for other reasons rather than his ability.
Yes.
I think a lot of the negative comments are assuming that he's not going to improve. And that's certainly a wrong assumption to me, because, certainly with Brendan Rodgers there as manager, there's a history there of players improving and going on to play at the very top level. And you look at guys like Stuart Armstrong, who was signed from Dundee United, who wasn't really highly rated, or that highly rated at Celtic, but he really improved as a player and eventually got his move to the English Premier League. Same with Ryan Christie. Same thing happened with him. He came in from a smaller club. He came from Inverness, and he improved under Brendan Rodgers at Celtic, and again now he's playing in the English Premier League. So there's no reason why Liam Scales can't get better. I understand he's not, he's not a top class, top level centre half at the moment. But I think he's only 25. He's still hit his peak years as a centre half, and there's nothing. He's certainly got the best manager there in terms of development. So I'm not against this at all.
Yeah, I think that Danno, there's room for improvement on the defensive side. Maybe some of his positioning and the way he can get caught out occasionally in that.
Yeah,
but he's solid in the tackle, strong in the tackle, can dispossess, as the lyrics of the song went. Don't know if you picked that up, but also when he's on the ball,
yes,
and things open up a little bit for him. I compare the feeling I have to Starfelt. Starfelt's on the ball. I'm like, if he gets closed down even the slightest bit, he's going to, lose possession.
Yes.
Whereas with Scales, it's like, oh, I wonder if something could open up for him. Could he dink a nice ball in? Because he can see a pass as well.
Yes. I think that's the thing that's underappreciated about his game when he's on the ball, especially when we're in possession and, the opposition is totally backed up and he's got a little room to look around. Starfelt couldn't do that at all, and he's pinged a couple passes for goals or for great chances this year that have been really impressive. And I think Stephen makes a good point that Rodgers, this is like the type of player he really likes to mold and can really improve at this age, especially after he's gotten some international experience under his belt. He's getting regular starts against even some of the best competition in Europe. But I think David's right too. The main thing is this is pretty shrewd business for the club, because given we're a selling club, that ups his value, even whether he continues to play or doesn't play. This is a player that wants to be at Celtic as well, which I think is an important point that's lost a lot of times in either the criticism or the praise or whatever. I'm totally pro Scales. I was very anti at the beginning of the year, but I feel like he's proven me totally wrong.
Yeah, now he wants to be at Celtic. Is it also true to say that Nawrocki and Gustav Lagerbielke are both going to want to be at Celtic, Stephen, if they're not getting the game time? If this goes on like for the rest of the season? Or are they again?
Yeah, I think, it's a long season, isn't it? And we've got a lot of games to play still. So I still think you'll see plenty of... You really need 4 centre-halves all vying for the 2 first team positions. And for me, the 4 are Lagerbielke, Nawrocki, Scales and Cameron Carter-Vickers. I don't really see Stephen Welsh coming much into that at the present. But you never know. I mean, if a player's not getting a player's not happy sitting on the bench, then he may want to move on. But I certainly think there'll be game time there for all four of those guys between now and the end of the season. So I don't think there's too much to worry about there.
I've
The other
got
thing
Pete
about-
McGee suggesting that I'm not pronouncing the name correctly, but I could pull up the video of Nawrocki saying Nawrocki if you want. But
you're giving it the full proper Polish treatment for sure.
There's an
Nawrocki,
H. There's an H between the S and the K when he says it. Pete McGee. I think you'll find. All right. So Stephen, didn't you send a thing in the chat about or maybe you just mentioned this and I wasn't paying attention, but Lagerbjälke getting that award in Sweden. Did you just mention that?
Yeah, I did. I sent it in the group chat. He's been named the Swedish League, the Elfskeven, the Defender of the Year. Even though he left, during the season, he left. What was it? What was the name of the team? Was it Elfsborg he played for? I can't remember. Anyway, they were close. I think they lost the league in the last day of the season. The team that he played for, and he's been named the Sweden Defender of the Year. So he's broke into the Sweden first, the senior squad for Sweden, which is a really good team. And so there's clearly something about him that we're not seeing or we haven't seen up to now. But he's young. He's really young, and there's plenty of time for him to break into the team yet. And as I mentioned earlier, I think he will get game time.
Speaking of time, Danno, I'm going to move it on, if I may, because we're coming up on the hour. So it's time to do our usual little look at the world of Celtic social media. I'm going to go first. This is Out of Context Human Race. This is a kid's game. You may have seen this. I think it's absolutely brilliant. We don't need sound. Number 8 here. He shoots. It's so funny. The dad, I'm assuming it's the dad of the goalkeeper. He's like, save it, son.
No, it's still good. Still the rebound still puts it back home. I do love that.
He still score, yeah. Look how unhappy he is, ultimately.
Come on, son. Yeah.
Anybody who's coached a team at that age group can identify with that.
I'm not going to play the sound here because often it's very, very low. But David, you need to talk to us about this one.
Yeah, nothing to do with Celtic, but hopefully everybody here appreciates this. He's going on a rant because he's come back in and they've all started putting up Christmas trees, snowmen, and all the rest of it. Because this is me. This is me in my household where they've got 2 trees up downstairs and it's not even mid-November. Yeah. So this man speaks for me.
I had a conversation with my wife earlier today about this, and I told her, and I'll tell you now, if you put Christmas decorations up before the 1st of December, then you're a complete weirdo.
Aye. You're for the watching.
That's all the rule. First of December is the rule.
Not in America.
I would say, like, you're only supposed to put decorations up for the 12 days at Christmas. That's what you're meant to do. The decorations were meant to go up a couple of days before Christmas in the past. Now we're putting them up and Halloween's just gone.
No, it's
the whole idea of Christmas decorations is ridiculous anyway.
Yeah, I mean, everybody in the States does it like Thanksgiving weekend, mostly. So that's kind of the marker when you do it, because they have like the parade in New York. It's basically the start of, marketing for Christmas and all that. A lot of people do it a little before December 1st, but it's, it's basically the same thing, man.
Well, it's a season of goodwill to all. So who's going to talk about this? Is this Steve? Is this you? Oh, that's you, Danno. Go ahead.
It's getting cold out, man. Those of us with heat and a warm home and all that type of stuff, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And, with the cost of living crisis in the UK and basically everywhere, prices are ridiculous here in Korea as well. It's good to see, the Celtic FC Foundation providing, stuff like this and keeping with the original ethos of founding the club and feeding the poor and helping those in need. And so offering a free warm meal 4 days a week through our Paradise Pit Stop, which is great to see, man. This is the one thing. There's so much I respect about this club, but this is from the heart. This is what it's all about, basically.
Very good. And then returning back to football for the last little bit, Stephen, this is you.
Yeah, so this is a game from the 90s between Man United and Wimbledon. It's a very famous tackle by Vinnie Jones, illustrious footballer, if you could call him that, on Eric Cantona, the great Eric Cantona. And it was just such a savage tackle by a man who, was an absolutely awful player.
Puts the S in savage, man. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh.
He's absolutely savaged them and then got up and then attempted to fight the entire Man United team.
Yeah. I mean, that is
he didn't quite make contact. His leg went through Cantona's legs rather than landing on them. See?
Imagine VAR looking at that these days.
Well, if it was John Beaton
tear off a leg
in the right circumstances, he'd say, nothing to see here.
Right.
He didn't get sent off for that, by the way. He got a booking. Also, what a great Man United strip that is.
Yeah, it's the old. What was their original team? It was kind of what was their original club name? I always forget it.
Oh yeah.
It's their original strip from whatever
Newton Heath.
Late 1800s.
Newton Heath. That's it. Yeah. Great kit.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Okay, well, there's very little remains to be done except, let me see, Pete McGee is still at it.
Always.
Just gone back to listen to Mike pronounce his name about 10 times, and it's still Nawrocki, he says.
Nawrocki.
Oh, what am I doing? That's the wrong file.
Rewind.
How to pronounce my name is Mike Nawrocki.
Nawrocki.
Hey, Celtic fans, here's how to pronounce my name is Mike Nawrocki.
You listening, Pete?
Mike Nawrocki.
Okay.
Do you think he's maybe just got a little bit of a lisp?
Maybe. Yeah, as somebody who suffers from that myself, I can sympathize.
He may have some dental issues there.
Oh, God. Well, Pete McGee's got a hearing problem. Look, he still thinks he's right, despite all the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. All right. Well, look, well done,
Pretty
guys.
subtle.
That was a great show. Too bad Matt McGlone wasn't here. But what can you do? We'll hopefully get him on another time and talk all about Celts for Change and all the rest of it.
Yeah, but you got to kick the plastic patty around for a little fun in his absence, so.
Yeah, yes, that's you. You're talking about that. I thought you were talking about me for a minute. All right. Now, we do have a guest lined up for the next show, and I'm kind of not sure if we should mention who it is, just in case that doesn't happen either. But we'll do it. It's Hamish from 67 Hail Hail is due on Monday. So it'll be great to catch up with him, find out about his life in Australia, how difficult it's been to say goodbye to this hilarious world of Celtic YouTube. And probably we're looking for him to sort of anoint us as his successors in terms of the most likable people on Celtic YouTube. What do you think of that, Stephen?
I don't think that's going to happen, mate. Don't pull your eggs in that particular basket.
No, but it'd be great to chat to him. So we look forward to that. So come back and say hello to Hamish on Monday, because he doesn't turn up often in many places these days.
Unfortunately, I won't be here on Monday, as I'm going to see Kevin Bridges in the Sydney Opera House on Monday night.
Oh, are you? Aye?
Did you?
Hey.
Hey. How, but...
All right, guys. Until next time, cheery bye.